The 911 GT3 RS, the peak of automotive innovation. A mix of speed, handling, and history, along with incredible looks, blends together to create a Porsche that sings the choirs of cylinders and dances around a track. No matter who you are, the GT3 RS takes your breath away, and you can only just admire the car. There's no doubt that the 911 GT3 RS is the peak of Porsche engineering. Hell, just automotive engineering. But it isn't just a one-off. Porsche has built up to this point. And what lungs have they had to climb on the ladder to perfection? I'm not going to bore you with the whole history of Porsche. If you want to know more about this, I'll put a link in the description of my video to the basics of the summary of the history of the Porsche Motor Company. This story will start about 50 years ago, when Porsche put the first RS badge on the 911. The RS badge was put on cars that connected the greatest GT cars in racing to the street cars that Porsche made, which makes sense since RS stands for rennsport, or racing in German. In 1972, the first 911 RS model came into existence, the 911 Carrera RS 2.7. The Carrera RS was the fastest German car of its time, and the first car with front and rear spoilers. Now, this car is one of the most desirable Porsches of all time. It took over a decade for the next Porsche to have the RS badge. This time the RS badge was on the 911 SC RS, often called the Type 954. It was a rally car that was produced for Group B, one of the craziest racing series ever. The reason they had to create 21 cars was for a homologation rule for Group B. The car was very light, even for the time, which made it very successful in the rally scene. The car gave a nod of appreciation to the previous Carrera with the SC, which meant Super Carrera. This would be the short end to the beginning of Porsche's RSs, and even other special versions of their sports cars. They took a break from their winning at all costs mentality and worked on more practical cars, like the 928 and 944, and other front-engine Porsches. These are seen as more practical because they have front engine, and the way the engine was being in the back was because it was originally based on the Volkswagen Beetle. But the engineering team didn't plan on using the technology in race cars or on new cars. Along with Porsche being in a financially weird spot, advisors and accountants all wanted more practical cars, but all the engineers and designers wanted to make sports cars. This led to the 80s and 90s for Porsche to lose popularity, not being as successful in racing. It took a change in a higher ups to straighten up Porsche to get them back to their winning by all means necessary mentality. With the right mentality and the fire underneath their butts to succeed once again like they did, they became very successful. In the later half of the 90s, they would make the 911 GT1 that won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 98, and the Doyer 962, and even other sports cars that would be prototypes cars. This would get Porsche's name back to the top of podiums. But there was one thing that they could do with this technology of winning race cars. They could sell it in street cars. And that's exactly what they did. Winning the Le Mans in 1991 with the GT1, Porsche decided to make something. In 1999, they would change the car world forever. They would come out with the 911 GT3, based on the 996 series. These cars are very similar to the GT models of today, and go around a track in blistering speeds. And then, in 2003, Porsche brought back the RS badge from the 70s and put it on a version of the 911 GT3, making the first generation of 911 GT3 RS. The new GT3 RS came with new things like a roll cage, front apron, and integrated vent slots, optimized chassis geometry, and a special wheel carriers, and split wishbone for the front and rear axles, a single mass flywheel, and targeted lightweight construction measures, along with multiple carbon pieces that made the car 50 kilograms lighter than the GT3 Club Sport, a car that was absolutely light for its time. Along with some small performance upgrades, the 911 GT3 was the perfect track car. And that's what it was made to be. The roll cage and carbon and extra downforce put on the car to help the car fly around track. Yeah, it couldn't go fast in a drag race, but with the downforce, but the car could go around a track like no other car. The GT3 RS got a special paint job that's now famous with the car. A white base with a blue or red wheels with matching decal on the side of the car. After 3 years of the first generation of 911 GT3 RS, they decided to reimagine what the 911 would look like, with the first ever 997 based variant, meaning the lights were round in the front. Again, Porsche created a 911 GT3 RS, and they gave it racetrack ready cars parts. So, the 911 GT3 RS could again be brought to any track day and dominate. The changes to the car were wider fenders, carbon parts, and simple suspension and body parts like front and rear spoilers. The new GT3 RS now had a rollover bar as well. The GT3 RS used a 415 horsepower 3.6 liter engine, which enables maximum speed of 8,400 RPM, unmodified from the GT3. The narrower 6-speed manual gearbox with a single mass flywheel made it churn even more eagerly. With a power to weight ratio of 3.3 kilograms per horsepower, this car was absolutely insane for 2006. The next generation of ultra sporty 911 would come out 3 years later. This 911 GT3 RS would stay with the 997 platform, now considered the 997 II. But this time, it possessed a 3.8 liter 6-cylinder boxer engine with 450 horsepower instead of the previous 435. This was the first time that the 911 GT3's engine was stronger than the normal 911 GT3s, and with a specific output of 118 horsepower per liter, it once again set standards for the series production cars. And with this extra power, the car had to have better brakes. Along with a wider front axle, the Porsche adapted a PSM, a vehicle stability system, accordingly. Its independent control algorithm, which could be switched off in 2 phases, was developed for use on race cars. Along with lighter weight and all the previous changes that were exclusive to the track-ready 911. The Porsche demolished its Nürburgring in 2010. The car survived the Eiffel Marathon with no problems and reached the goal sensationally in 13th place. Overall, the race included arrival and departure from on the route via public roads. The final version of the 997 would come in 2012, the 911 GT3 RS 4.0. This model had a different engine that had never been seen in a Porsche road car, a 4.0 liter engine that was from racing technology, like the crankshaft, originally directed from a 6-cylinder engine of the 911 GT3 RSR, a racing car, with titanium connecting rods attached to the forged pistons. The car had extra power from the engine, along with lessening the weight, made the car have one of the best power to weight ratios a car could have. Only 600 of the 4.0s were made. The model made in 2015 would be the first 911 GT3 RS that was a 911 base. The car from 2015 took the 4-liter 500 horsepower engine from the previous car and paired it with the perfect transmission, a PDK gearbox with paddle shifters. This took the car's handling and drivability to the next level. And again, the Porsche team took away weight to the next level by having a luggage and engine compartments made out of carbon and the roof being made out of magnesium. The engineers added recesses and louvers or wheel arch vents in the and front wings. These designs maximize aerodynamics and precision. The benefits of a new rear axle steering and Velarotech Plus are a full variability rear differential lock. This also made the 911 GT3 RS look updated to look like one of the fastest Porsches in its fleet, similar to the 918. This full update turned a lot of heads in the car world because of how the car looked along with the car's staggering performance and how it felt. And this brings us to the modern 911 GT3 RS, a race car of today, a masterpiece on wheels. The new 911 GT RS is still one of the most race-inspired 911s that Porsche is making. The generation is most similar to the Porsche race cars because this generation has active aero on the upper wing and on the brake duct. All of these are controlled by electric engines. This benefits the car greatly because it makes more downforce at higher speeds while allowing the car to accelerate quicker without being slowed down by downforce. The car also has DRS that helps with drag reduction and increasing downforce. When it comes to Porsches, the 911 GT3 RS is one of the rarest Porsches you can buy today. Needing to be an avid Porsche buyer, owning multiple high-performance Porsches before. But there are some more, even rarer 911 GT3 RS packages that you can buy. First off, the Wasatch package that add a bit more power. And the other one is the 911 GT3 RS Carrera RS. This commemorates the Carrera from 50 years before. But underneath the Python green on white livery is a 911 GT3 RS with the Wasatch package, along with some additional modification that commemorates the Carrera, like wired tires and highly adjustable suspension. The 911 GT3 RS, the perfect example of Porsche engineering, making a car that can go around a track like a chariot racer. A weird and quirky car with its rear engine design, made perfect by Porsche's finest engineers. A masterpiece let out on a track. A lion that can only be tamed by a driver who knows what they've been doing and is well experienced with Porsche. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you clearly enjoyed it, so leave a like and subscribe and watch my other videos.